Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com, here with your hurricane outlook and discussion. It is Monday, the 19th day of October 2020. You know, it's 15 years ago that we started really keeping an eye on what would become Hurricane Wilma down in the Northwest Caribbean Sea. It went on to become the strongest, most intense hurricane in the Atlantic Basin, pressure down in the low 880s, and it went on to devastate parts of the Yucatan before coming into Florida as a strong Category 3 hurricane. I was there for that. The very first year of our live video, we had a camera system set up in Naples, one on Marco Island, and one down in Everglades City. Back when everything weighed 75, 80 pounds, it would only run for about 18 hours if you were lucky. And the video size was a stunning 180 pixels by 120 pixels. And from the remote cams, there was no audio. We had audio in the Tahoe from the Tahoe cam. That was coming in from a video camera that was using FireWire. Anybody remember what FireWire is or was? That would run into a laptop, and I would stream from the Tahoe, our Chevy Tahoe, and we had audio there. But the remote cams did not have audio. They do now. And they would stream at a bit rate of about 30 kilobits per second. And if you know any of that stuff and what it means, wow, there you go. So we've come a long way. Now, 15 years later, we are close to breaking the record for the most named storms. Our ACE score, the accumulated cyclone energy, not nearly as high as it was 15 years ago, but that matters little in terms of the impacts that we have had this year. Trust me, people in Louisiana are not sitting around the watering hole down there, wherever there are watering holes left. Watering hole is a euphemism for a bar or a hangout, saying, you know, Bob, the ACE score certainly isn't as bad as it was in 2015, so at least there's that. I assure you, that is not what they are saying. They are just hoping that they can get by from one week to the next. In the wake of Hurricanes Laura, very devastating, Category 4, and, of course, Delta recently adding insult to injury down there. Sally on the Gulf Coast, Florida and Alabama, Isaias in the Carolinas and elsewhere. It just goes on and on. Similar seasons with a lot of activity 15 years later, but different in terms of the intensity. Well, here we are with Epsilon, new tropical storm, and this formed from like a mid to upper level feature that finally worked its way down to the surface over the warmer waters of the tropical and subtropical, well, actually it's the subtropical Atlantic at this point, and it's a tropical storm. It's concentrated around the center. It's a bona fide tropical cyclone, warm in the middle, pressure lower in the middle, concentrated area of thunderstorms I'll show you in just a moment. 40 miles per hour. This will probably go on to become a hurricane, and it might bring impacts to our friends in Bermuda. It's a shame that I cannot just jet off to Bermuda like we could before COVID, because I would absolutely go. I could hang out with my friend Howard over there. Never met Howard. He's one of our supporters, one of our crowdfunding partners in Bermuda. I could go over there and visit Jay Correa, who owns the Swizzle Inn, but alas, the COVID is not going to allow. So we'll have to watch from afar and see what happens. But seriously, Epsilon could be an issue for Bermuda. It'll send out swells as it gets stronger and stronger, and those swells will radiate out and eventually end up as waves along the coastlines of the U.S. British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, and elsewhere, the Bahamas, Florida, the East Coast. Yep, hurricanes, tropical cyclones, sends energy out. They send energy out radiating from their energy that is input into the ocean by the way of those wind fields. So we got to watch Epsilon closely for a lot of reasons, you know, at least for our friends in Bermuda, right? Then we got this other area, and I'm going to talk about this in more detail. It's not going to do anything, it looks like. It's down to 20% or 10% from a high of 30. Basically, the short story of this, I, among others that follow this stuff, seem to have been duped by the great phantom storm scenario of the GFS, the Global Forecast System, and other models. It's not just the GFS that did it, at least as far as we know. I mean, I guess it's not over till it's over, but it doesn't look like anything's going to develop. That incredible weird hurricane that it looked like was going to develop and do all kinds of weird things and all those loops and whatever. You remember? And if you don't, I'm going to show you. Doesn't look like that's going to happen, at least not yet. But there's still time on the clock, but time's running out. So what do we have? What do we got out there? Well, lots of energy in the Atlantic right now, concentrated right here around Epsilon. Hard to believe it, right? Wow, all the way up to Tropical Storm E, Epsilon. The other E, we already had an E storm. I don't even remember what it was this year. My goodness, was it Edward? I think it was. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. It's been a long year, man. In fact, let me just correct that, because I know that lots of people will comment about it. We'll go to the archives. So, hey, I was right. At least I'm not completely losing it. It was Edward. And now we have the other E, Epsilon. Wow. You have a busy season when you visit E twice. But it's the Greek letter Epsilon, concentrating its energy around there. Lots of other vorticity out in the Atlantic. This will separate from that, and when it does so, I fully expect that Epsilon will become a hurricane. Elsewhere, there is some concentrated vorticity in the vicinity of Cuba and the Yucatan Channel, the Northwest Caribbean, but something is not allowing it to really congeal and come together. We'll take a look at a couple of reasons why that might be the case. That's all well and good because everybody up here is just done, capital D-O-N-E, right? You are done with hurricane season. It's been very busy. And even though the Florida Peninsula has gone basically unscathed from anything major, and a majority of the Panhandle too, the Western Panhandle, Pensacola, Navarre, that area certainly had to deal with Sally. But boy, the peninsula these last few years, even going back 4 years ago with Matthew and 3 years ago with Irma, yes, major impact events. But we all know, as the saying goes, it could have been far worse. Not much in the pipeline that we can see from the vorticity point of view, but I think that we might still have some activity possibly for our friends in the Eastern Caribbean. I'll show you why I think that in just a moment. And then a lot of energy trying to coalesce in the Eastern Pacific. I mean, it's just a weird year. You would think with the La Nina in place, the cool Pacific waters over here, that we would have a much more active Western Caribbean. I mean, we already had Gamma and Delta. Make no mistake. It's been very busy. And, Delta made very small core there, Category 4 at one point in the Western Caribbean before coming ashore in the Yucatan. But it looked like we were going to get another development, and we still might. We still might do that, but just not in the near term. All right? So let's go ahead and take a look at the satellite animation here of Tropical Storm Epsilon. And it's kind of got that comma shape to it, yes, but definitely concentrating that energy around a low-pressure center. Lots of lightning, lots of warm air. Still kind of associated with this overall front loosely, and it will detach from that. You can see some strong upper-level winds going through the area. But right around here, it's definitely coming together, and it's sitting over fairly warm sea surface temperatures, decent upper ocean heat content considering its location. And I fully expect that this will become, let's go back to this. Let's see, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hurricanes. So this would be our 10th hurricane if it makes it, and I think it will. So this will be our 10th hurricane. Now that's saying something. People can complain all they want about the naming of storms. Oh, that 40-mile-an-hour storm's a piece of junk. And you know who these people are, and that's fine. They have a right to do that. And I have a right, and I think a responsibility, to retort and at least present the opposite opinion. And when you're talking about 10 hurricanes, there is no, that hurricane, it's a hurricane. It takes quite a bit to become a hurricane. And this is not a case last year like Barry off the coast of Louisiana that had a very small area that recon and radar showed had hurricane force winds, absolutely. And people complained about that. I think we just use social media to complain because we don't have anything else to do, maybe. But when you have 10 hurricanes, folks, that's getting it. That's saying something. So if you just look at the season from a hurricane perspective, 10 hurricanes is a lot. Normally we would have about 6. So, and I think we'll have a couple more after that, probably on into November. Wouldn't surprise me. So we'll watch Epsilon and see what ends up happening over with that scenario. What is, hold on, let me get rid of that. There we go. All right. So, sorry, I left my chat open. That's fine. And it distracted me because of the whoop sound that it makes when somebody posts. So, going back to the satellite here of the Caribbean, if I can get this to go faster. Come on, speed up. I couldn't get Tropical Tidbits to animate for me today. Something was goofy with its GIF animation creation, but whatever. So we'll use Weather Nerds today. A lot of energy down here, trying to get together, but it's not really doing so. There's a little bit of spin. You can see that right there, right off the tip of Cuba. But I think dry air and some upper level winds that are pretty strong, and just the lack of just some missing ingredient. You can see there's some decent vorticity. That's very evident in the vorticity data, but it's just not coming together. No convection to speak of. Lots of lightning, though. Some convection down there, but just nothing really coming together. And there's another chunk of energy coming in to the southern Caribbean, southwest Caribbean, but it's just not doing what the GFS was saying it was possibly going to do in those model runs. I'm going to show you that in just a minute. For our friends over here in the Virgin Islands, let's use red. That'll make everything stand out. Nice and clear in the Virgin Islands, nice and clear down Barbados way, Trinidad and Tobago. No worries, Guadeloupe, Antigua, the same for you, Puerto Rico, wherever. Just some high cirrus clouds pinwheeling off some anticyclonic flow maybe over this way, but nothing organized. And you can see Epsilon way up here in the right-hand corner. And again, that will start to send some swells down this way. And we might be able to see those on the camera in St. Thomas from Timothy Olive that hosts that for us. Stay tuned. Maybe I'll show you that in a few days. It's a beautiful shot. All right, so real quick, Epsilon is located roughly in this area, and the upper ocean heat content is enough that Epsilon is going to try to strengthen. It'll head its way over towards Bermuda, where water temperatures are warm. They're above 80 degrees Fahrenheit. There's just not a lot of deep warm water. That's why the upper ocean heat content, this contour here, kind of drops off. Don't let that fool you. There's still plenty of warm water in and around Bermuda. And you never know. They may have to deal with a formidable hurricane, at least the edges of it. We'll see in the coming days. The rest of the Atlantic still very, very warm. Lots of upper ocean heat content. That warm layer that's not just at the surface, folks. It extends down many tens of meters in some cases. Plenty of warm water still to tap into, especially in the Western Caribbean, certainly the Eastern Caribbean. It is not over until it's over, just like the old saying goes. All right, so Bermuda, I want to pay attention to you all real quick here. Our nice, awesome tracking chart that was developed by the great Will Woodgate from the UK, one of our supporters who had a lot of time on his hands, thanks in no small part to COVID, and he graciously volunteered to code this up for us, and it is amazing, and I can use it to kind of show you what's happening. And they say don't follow the skinny black line where our line is blue. This is the center of where Epsilon is forecast to be at days 4 and 5. There's Bermuda. So we'll have to wait and see if this inches over closer. Is it farther away? Does it go more to the west, putting Bermuda in the right front quadrant? Don't know yet. Still too early, but this gives you an idea of the proximity, if you will, the close proximity that Epsilon tries to get to Bermuda, and we'll see what happens from there. Our friend Howard can keep us posted if it gets too close for comfort. All right? All right, well, let's take a look at what I call duped by the GFS. We should have like I think they call it a sting in television and radio, where you have this little graphic and this sound effect, duped by the GFS. This is that segment. Because we were duped by it, so to speak, and that's great. Seriously, we are good with hurricanes this year. We've had, not that anybody wanted, I'm just saying we've had plenty of hurricanes. We didn't need any more. And there was a little bit of a worry that we could have one for Florida or Cuba, the Caymans, Jamaica. And when did this really start to happen? Well, the last 10 days or so, the GFS especially was advertising in its runs, mainly out at the long ranges, 5, 6, 7 days plus, especially 7 days and beyond, that we would get something developing in the Caribbean. So I will take you back in time. We will use the great Tropical Tidbits time machine. Levi never knew that he was creating a time machine, did he? The archives, that's what I'm talking about. I'm just kidding. Trying to be positive here and have an upbeat attitude about all this. You know, the world just generally sucks on a lot of other levels, at least from the weather perspective. Even though it can suck, let's at least try to have some positivity here, all right? So a little bit of levity without making light of the situation. That's the way I look at it. So, going back in time, that all being said, this is the 12Z run from October the 17th. So just a couple of days ago, right? Just a couple of days ago. It's not that far out, back in time. Here we are at 54 hours out. So this would be valid right about now, plus or minus an hour or so. See, it was 54 hours back then, 18Z Monday, which would have been an hour and 14 minutes ago. All right, so it shows some energy over here. It shows for what is now Epsilon, and a little bit of energy down in the Southwest Caribbean. Well, what is the reality? This is what it really looks like. 6 hours from this morning's run, which is pretty accurate, okay? So this is basically valid now. A little bit more concentrated area around Cuba. I showed you that on satellite. Some energy down in the Caribbean. That was valid. But boy, it kind of missed out on this. Epsilon much stronger and more organized than the GFS was advertising just 54 hours ago. See? Well, let's continue on at what it showed back on the 17th, on the 12Z run. We run it on out in time, and in this situation, we can just go show you the full thing. Remember, it developed that system. It came back, strong hurricane in the Gulf, came back and hits Florida, and stays around down there, blah, blah, blah. 384, 2 weeks out. I mean, come on, that's just incredible. We run it in fast motion. That's what it showed. All right, so here's what we have today. All right, I'll do the same kind of thing. Not so much. Still has Epsilon out there, but where's that hurricane that it showed going on out? We're at day 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Oh, wait a minute. There's another one way out in time in the Eastern Caribbean. Is that going to be a phantom storm too? This is what I mean when we talk about do not use the models as gospel. And you don't need me to tell you that. I think most people that watch my updates, they watch Levi, they pay attention to this stuff. You have access to this. Levi makes it readily available. It's readily available from the INCEP site. The global forecast system is out there for everybody. It is. Different sites, Weather Nerds, Weather Models, Weather Bell, Levi's site, and others. Yes, you can go out and you can look at the models all out to 260 hours, 380 hours, whatever you want to do. You can do that all day long. Just understand, sometimes it ain't going to happen. I know that's bad grammar, but I'm just making a point here, all right? So it's about out to 5 days that we are most comfortable with in the weather world at using for guidance. And really, 72 hours is my most comfort zone. Because even 24 hours, a lot can change. Remember Michael. Remember Isaias this year. And I mean, what is it with this year? Is it missing upper air data from the lack of airplanes flying because of COVID? Ship data. You know, are there less ships out at sea? I don't know. Maybe we'd need to look into that. What the heck is going on? Why have the models been so wacky this year? And the Euro for tropical cyclogenesis has been overall. Want me to prove it to you? Let's take a look at the Euro real quick. All right? Because we've got to be equal. We're not going to just bash the GFS. So let's go back to where we are right now. Sorry, I was clicking too much. So this is the initial at 12Z Monday from the GFS. All right, so let's go to the Euro, ECMWF, and this is its 12Z run from today. So basically, this is your initial, it's what it's called the analysis right there. So this is what the euro was showing today when it initialized, the initial beginning conditions. Well, what about 3 days ago? There's 1 day, 2 day, 3 days ago. Is that right? Yes. 3 days ago, valid for right now. Not too bad. Not too bad. What about 5 days ago? Today's the 19th, so we need to go to the 14th. It had something. Bottom line is, none of the models had much in the way of what's going on currently, which of course is that. And that's not a big deal because it's out in the open, it's out in the open. But the big foobar is what the GFS had brewing over here. And to the Europeans' credit, it didn't have much at all developing, and it still doesn't. So let's fast forward to today, and we can look at that run, initial 24 hours out, 48, 72. By the way, there's Bermuda right there, in case you want to know. I'll draw a red circle around it. 96 at 120. So over the next 5 days, not much out there. Maybe a little bit of an impulse that tries to work its way up towards the northern Gulf Coast. A little bit of a weakness in here. If this is to be believed. Sorry, too many words trying to come out of my mouth at once. So if the models aren't showing anything, why do we believe that over when they do show something and it doesn't pan out? I just worry that they're so screwed up this year. I don't worry, that's not true. There's a little bit of apprehension. There we go. That's a more accurate way to put it. That's 5 days out from the euro. This is 5 days out from the GFS. I'll finish making my point here and then we'll move on. So the GFS in 5 days, no hurricanes down there, no storms, no nothing, in the Caribbean. But 5 days out, maybe that's wrong. Maybe there still will be something. I don't know. Probably not overall because that's a lot of like bad modeling. If it still happens, oh my goodness, something formed after all. And even if it does, within the next 5 days, we'll have plenty of time to react. So it's actually not that big of a deal. It's just for those of us that watch it, it's very confounding and confusing as to why the models have been struggling as they have been this year. So there you go.